Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael on this Monday, September the 6th, Labor Day here in Canada. What a glorious gift it is to have a Labor Day, isn't it? That day when we all stop and we really do think about our families and friends. When I was growing up, Labor Day always meant the last day before school started again. This year, for some people, school started last week. So we encourage them and hope that this weekend has been a good long weekend to sort of dip your toes into school and then have some time off and then get ready to go full on as time goes on. Until September 30th, which will be a federal holiday as we have a National Day of Remembrance for our Indigenous brothers and sisters, with our Indigenous brothers and sisters. So looking forward to that isn't really the right word, but appreciating the opportunity to really formally acknowledge. I'm looking forward to that. So today I'd like to talk to you about the nudge factor. I've been reading this incredible book. It's holding up my computer here. It's called Whisper by Mark Batterson. And it's listening to God and discerning God's voice and understanding what's happening in life. And he talks about nudges. And apparently there's actually been scientific studies done about nudges and how sometimes it's great to sort of just tell people what to do or to be told what to do. And you just, okay, now I know, it's clear. And we will change our ways. Most of the time, though, I think he's right in saying that we need to be gently nudged. We need to not be sort of forcefully, you must do this. We need to be given encouragement and given time to figure out, okay, what does that nudge do and how do I change my life? We can change our lives by coming to a screeching halt at a stop sign and then turning. Or we can change our lives by slowing down and gently turning. It takes a longer way to go. It's like the difference between stopping, for instance, an airplane on a dime on a tarmac at an airport and trying and having it turn around and go on a different runway and trying to turn a battleship around. It takes a while. You don't just turn on a dime in a battleship. So thinking about this nudge factor thing, they're talking about a study that was done, an experiment sort of that was done in the UK back beginning in 2010 that talked about the fact that they were having trouble with people paying taxes, paying traffic tickets, things like that. So they started doing little things like they changed one word in letters to remind people to pay their taxes, like to file their taxes on time. And in changing that one word that made it much more positive and much more like you are helping so much versus you must, they actually saw a significant percentage increase in people who filed taxes and paid what they owed on time or in a more timely manner. Another thing they did was they did something with traffic cams for people who, in their advertising about speeding tickets or running red lights, they actually showed a picture of a car going through a light in their invoice or whatever it was, and it seemed to encourage people to go ahead and pay their ticket. Another thing was they started texting people, remember to pay your fine, and people, when nudged, they get an extra text, would remember. Then more people than not remembered to then pay their bill. So those nudges, those quiet little nudges, they work significantly well. It's like advertising. If I say just do it, you think Nike. If you say, like there's different commercials. Right now there's a commercial out for LG washers and dryers that's got a really, really hip tune and a cute little baby. And every time it comes on, wherever I am in the house, if I hear it, I stop and I sing and I dance like an absolute fool. And I think about LG washers and dryers. I mean, the commercial, that nudge has worked. Well, the nudging in the commercial world, the consumerism world, it works. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend so many billions of dollars every year on advertising. But there's a whole different way of looking at nudges if we're Christians, and that is the nudging of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will come to us and drop the answer or the next thing we have to do on our lap. Boom, right there. This is what you have to do. And if you don't do it now, I'm going to give you another thing that's going to make you do it. Like it needs to happen. That doesn't happen all that very often in my life. more often than not, I'll get a nudge. I'll get a little, you should do this. Somebody will pop into my head and I'll think, oh, I should give them a call. And if I don't give them a call, then something else, you really need to call, until it actually becomes such an annoyance that, I really need to call this person, just return this call or do this, or, that I call and then find out, well, lo and behold, I needed to. The other day, for instance, I was looking at an email I received that had a really interesting article about morning meditation and getting up a little bit early and having a meditation before you even get out of bed, really focusing on God and what, just starting yourself off, starting your day off in a better way. And so I thought of that, and I thought, I read it, and I thought, my cousin Wendy popped into my head. So I thought, I'm going to send this off to Wendy. I'll do that later. And I thought, no, you do it now. So I opened up my computer and I fired off an email and sent the attachment to Wendy. And I got a beautiful email back later from my cousin that said, you know what, these sort of things are going on in my life, and that was the perfect timing for that. If I hadn't listened to that nudge that I believe was the Holy Spirit, I would not have sent that email to Wendy at that time, which helped her out. I mean, she does things like that for people all the time. I think she's very in tune with the Spirit. And this is a great gift. It's a great gift. It's a great discipline to pay attention to how the Holy Spirit speaks to you and nudges you. But I think we all need to pay attention to that, to recognize that, as I said on Friday, we have mountaintop experiences where we see God or we hear God's voice clearly, or even not clearly, but we have these transformative experiences that they're big and they make us move forward. Well, I think sometimes we also have, many more times, we have those tiny little moments when we see something that makes us remember something, that makes us do something. Or we get that feeling in our stomach, a gut hunch, that's in the pit of your stomach. I think I just have a hunch I should do this, a gut feeling. Or sometimes it's like, I remember preaching once about the Holy Spirit being like Jiminy Cricket sitting on Pinocchio's shoulder, reminding him, you got to do the right thing. Here's what you should do, not what you're going to do. And sometimes the Holy Spirit is like that Jiminy Cricket sitting on our shoulder, whispering in our ear, if we're willing to listen. The Spirit will not force us to do anything, but the Spirit will guide us. And if we listen, the Spirit will never guide us wrong. If we do what God asks us to do, we will not hurt another. We will not hurt ourselves. We will not find ourselves in trouble, but we might find ourselves pulling ourselves out of trouble. We might be able to help others come out of trouble, because the Holy Spirit does not play with us. The Holy Spirit, well, I think the Spirit does play with us, but the Holy Spirit does not manipulate us. We are always got the free will to make a decision as to whether or not we will listen when we hear that nudge. So what are the nudges in your life? What kinds of things has God spoken to you, the Holy Spirit spoken to you through a nudge? How might you then share those nudges? I think that nudges are a gentle way of helping others to see what we see, to hear what God is speaking to us and to them. How can a nudge in the right direction, a nudge to do the right thing, a nudge to do something different, how can it change your life? How could it change the lives of others if you heeded that nudge? God nudges us all the time. We just have to be willing to acknowledge the nudge when it comes. Have a wonderful Labor Day, everybody. I hope that your week goes well. I will see you again tomorrow for Tuesday's Church at Home with Rachael. But as you start back, if this is your first day of school tomorrow or first day back at work, or as you get back in after the long weekend, may you listen for the nudges that God provides. May you recognize the ways that God is calling us to move forward. God bless. Have a great day.